Welcome to another edition of Buck What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Buck What You Heard. If you follow me, I'll follow you back. And I'm joined tonight by my co-host, Michael Pless. How are you doing tonight, Michael?
Oh, doing great, Gene. The season is still ongoing. We lost one game, but we're still playing football here. We got another game coming up very soon. The season doesn't end in one game.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
And
Unlike most fans think it's already the end of the world.
and the catchphrase that the roster is fluid. We're seeing a great example of that this week, and we'll definitely touch on
Right.
that. But yeah, the Bucks had their first game, and they're as bad as people are. People are jumping out of the window, and everybody's got their own opinion about the season's pretty much lost and this, that, and the other. To me, I really believe that there's a lot more football to be played. I had a tweet on, was it Sunday, and I was saying whether they go 1-0 or 0-1, you can't overreact one way or the other because
Hmm.
there's so much football to be played, so many different
Right.
things that can happen. So yeah, and I know that people are upset. This is a carryover from last season, and people have every single right to be mad, to vent. You post something in the chat, I'm not going to say anything negative about anything that's put in the chat because people are upset, and they're at a point where they're fed up and they want to see results from all these different moves and all the training that's being done. So I might be of a different mindset than you tonight, but all I'm saying is, you're here to if you're here to vent, I'm not going to let anybody come in and say, "Oh no, you can't feel that way," because you have every right to feel the way you do. So enjoy the show. We're definitely going to touch on a lot of different things. I'm going to save the best for last, which is Jameis Winston. And you've had a chance to watch the game film, so
Yeah.
I have too. I've seen a lot of things that I've seen, some good, some bad. And the one thing that whether you want to call it an excuse or you want to call it whatever you want to, this is the first game of a new offensive scheme that fans have been able to see. This is the first game of a new defensive scheme that people have been able to see. So at the end of the day, whatever you think, just keep that in mind. Keep that in the back of your head that people are still learning, people are still coming together, things are still gelling, and they're still working on the roster. It looks like so. Let's
Yeah.
start. Let's start with that. What do you think
Hmm.
about some of the roster moves that the Bucks have made? Your favorite offensive lineman, Caleb Benenoch, is sent packing from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What were your thoughts when you saw that?
Yeah, it was kind of expected for me, just because of the addition of Gerald Hawkins.
Mm-hmm.
They picked him up. He can play left tackle or right tackle, and Caleb was in a situation where he was basically just a right tackle, and that's really all he could do. So you pretty much saw that coming, and then with the addition of Josh Wells, who's another guy that can play guard or tackle. Yeah, so the writing was pretty much on the wall. So I
Yeah.
I wasn't really surprised by that, and then getting Andrew Adams back, I think that was a good move just because of Justin Evans going on IR to return, so he'll be out for 8 weeks. And hopefully he can become healthy. I think it was just, hopefully it's not a situation that's going to continue to linger, and hopefully, they get that fixed. But I like all the moves that they did. I think those are smart, and hopefully, they clean up the mistakes that were on Sunday and get better. But going on to the game, I saw a lot of good things. Of course, there was the obvious bad things, penalties and turnovers, missed opportunities inside the red zone. It's pretty much, that's what we've seen, the last couple of years. And I think that's why fans were, so upset. And, they were just expecting so much change to happen so quickly. And, unfortunately, it doesn't happen that way. This thing takes time. There are going to be growing pains. Guys learning a new scheme, a new offense. Personally, I thought it was going to be the defense that would struggle with the scheme change, but they looked, they looked really good as far as communication, being in the right spots and making plays out there. So
Yeah.
that was impressive to see. But now it's just up to the offense to clean up little things here and there, and they'll be okay,
Yeah.
going forward.
And I don't know if maybe my eyes are bad, or I just forgot how to read, but I thought I saw where the Bucks are ranked number 10 in defense after the first
Yeah,
week.
yeah.
Who saw that coming? Shout out to
Yeah.
Seminole Buccaneer from Bucks Report. If you ever get a chance to check them out, if you're on Facebook and you need somewhere to get good articles outside of Real Bucks Talk, be sure to check out Bucks Report. Great spot to get good writing and stuff like that. For me, I was trying to be as unemotional about this game as possible. I was just excited football started. The
Right.
defense went beyond my expectations. I didn't really have high expectations for the defense. I believe that this team will put it together. I really do. The one thing that scares me is the offensive line, and I know that's what we've all talked about. They're one injury away from being catastrophic, and that's the
Right.
one thing that really concerns me. The penalties can be cleaned up. We talked about this, and I've talked about this through the off season, and I've talked about this up till now. I don't mind penalties. Penalties are going to happen in the NFL. It's when they occur.
Right.
When you've got a penalty that you take 7 points, you pick 6 points off the board twice, not just once, but twice.
Yeah.
And one of the prettiest catches in the back of the freaking end zone gets called back, just like that.
Yeah.
and-
No, I completely agree with that. Yeah, I mean, it just goes back to, you have to be playing smart football, and getting penalties like that. You take off. Not only do you lose 6 points in that drive, but you lose 3 because OJ Howard, I believe, fumbled later in that drive, if I'm not mistaken. So, that costs you points regardless.
Yeah.
So that's a huge backbreaker. I mean, if you get 7 there, you're probably looking at a better outcome. Again, a long way to go in that game. You never know, but you're feeling better about yourself, and it probably gives the offense a little more momentum that they need. And then, whoever, you don't know what happens from there on out. But, you were talking about the offensive line, looking at the tape, I thought they did a pretty decent job. There was a couple of times pass protection had some breakdowns, but, for the most part, I mean, they ran the ball well. They were opening up holes, which was encouraging. And pass protection, I think Jameis had enough time on most of his attempts. It was just San Francisco did a good job of taking certain things away, where you would like to see a little bit better route concepts and make it a little bit more simpler for Jameis as far as getting the ball out quickly. Now, again, there was options for him to do that, and sometimes he's not seeing it, so he's got to be better as far as knowing where everybody is. And again, that comes with the growing pains, like I talked about. It's a new offense, and really understanding, where everyone is on the field, so you can get, quicker to your options. There was just times where he was a little hesitant and a little uncomfortable in the pocket. It just seemed like. So, hopefully they can respond tomorrow, and that's really what I'm excited to see. How does this team respond? How do they come back from a loss? Is it going to be different from what we've seen in the past?
Yeah, and that's going to be huge for me. And with Bruce Arians, I'm really excited for Bruce Arians. That I'm glad he's the coach.
Right.
I think there will be accountability. Me personally, outsider looking in, of course. I don't have inside sources or anything like that. But just looking at Bruce Arians, I see a guy that, hey, you weren't doing your job. You played horrible. Or, being able to call people out on what they've done and actually work on things until you get good at it. I think that's important. Short week, I really believe that, Tampa they'll come in and play. This is going to be a competitive game. I don't have a problem with people saying the Bucs can win this game. I think they can, to be very honest. Watching the Carolina Panthers game, I look at Cam Newton, and the one thing that struck me is that he never ran out of the pocket. And I'm interested because I remember he was in a boot towards back in the preseason, and I'm just wondering if there's anything to that. Maybe not. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but I found it very intriguing that when there were times, and there were times where there were holes that I could have ran through that he could have run, but he stayed in the pocket and did what he does. So definitely something to look out for. The defense is just so fast that compared to what we've seen over the past 3-4 seasons, I'd have to say this defense is very fast. That's the one thing that really stuck out to me, is how they were getting to the running back early on in the game and making those stops. There were a few missed tackles, and those are things that are coachable that you clean up as the season progresses. But I was really happy with the defense, and I only see better things from them as long as they can stay healthy.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the positives of the game. I mean, you get the VH3 with the pick six, which I pretty much saw coming. Just because of Jimmy Garoppolo is a first read kind of quarterback. He usually locks onto his first guy, and VH3 was just watching him the whole way. So that was pretty much an easy interception for him and score. He played really good. I thought the secondary and then down to the defense lineman, I thought the communication was really outstanding. And that's something that gets missed with, Devon White in there as far as a rookie, and his ability to pretty much communicate everything to all the guys across the field and making sure guys are lined up correctly. I thought that was very impressive. And again, he backed it up with, I think, 6 tackles or so.
Let me, and I'm glad you brought up Devon White, and I'm going to call out some people on Twitter GMs or head coaches or whatever you're going to call yourselves. Devon White played a phenomenal game. It was a phenomenal game. Rookie, first game. You're looking at the quarterback of the defense, and he's setting people up. This is where you need to be. He's setting people up, and he had some bumps. There were some plays, but he's a rookie. But if you look at his overall body of work in that game, not just 1 or 2 plays, I thought he had a great game coming out as a rookie, and I only expect to see more progression from him as the season goes along.
Yeah, I agree. I thought he did a really good job as the game continued to progress. I thought he got better and better. So just seeing that progression, and then alongside Levante David, who looked like he hasn't missed anything as far as games. He was outstanding, just making plays after play. And he's going to have to be, both of them are going to have to be on their A game tomorrow against Christian McCaffrey and company, because that guy is like pretty much the whole offense for Carolina. They run it through him, pass it to him. So going to have to be on their keys. But defensively, just as a whole, I thought everyone played really well. I thought William Golston looked like a new player. He was outstanding. Him and Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh, all those guys up front, I thought did a really good job. Again, you would like to see more pressure, but I think that was based on San Francisco getting the ball out quick. And, that's what you want from your opposing quarterback. You want them to throw the ball quick so you guys can, come up and gain tackle and, make plays before the first down marker. Yeah. So hopefully we see that tomorrow, and they just continue to just ramp it up as we continue to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is where you're first rolling out that Todd Bowles defense, and, just how the offense ran. These guys are still getting used to it, as you mentioned. Offensive line is still gelling, learning a new scheme. You've got an upgrade in the offensive line coach. So there's a lot of things that they're learning that, it takes a little bit of time to progress and get better. And no, I'm not making excuses. Before anybody says I'm making excuses, I'm pointing out the obvious. Right. You can't come into a new system and be lights out the first game. There are some teams that have done it, but very few teams that have done it. I mean, you look at what Cleveland, what happened with the Cleveland Browns. That was a freaking nightmare. Just how both sides of the ball they just got handled. So I think that's very important to keep those things in mind. And just kind of getting back to the defense, the one thing that me and you, we talked about this all off season. Everybody has been complaining about the secondary. The secondary was supposed to be the weak link on this team going into the season. And I believe the secondary did a great job, how they handled things with this game. And, they're going to get some tests as we go on down the road. But I thought they did pretty good
Right.
against against the receiver core for the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, holding Garoppolo to 166 yards. I think they only gave up, 256 yards total. They allowed, I think, 4.4 yards per play, which is very impressive, and we haven't seen those kind of numbers in a long time defensively. So that was definitely a good start for them. And people, I mean, people look at the final score. I mean, this game was very close. I mean, the Bucs had very many opportunities to come out with a win. It came down to miss ops, as far as just not making the plays, not making plays early, and that kind of hurt them. So, you know, looking at tomorrow defensively, you just hopefully they can continue to build on that, and hopefully the offense comes with them, and we can play a complete game tomorrow and get a big win. Because you win tomorrow, you're right back in business as far as this division, and it's huge as
Yeah.
far as the momentum going forward.
I really believe that a division game, winning a division game is more important than losing an outside of your division game.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and just because of how that counts towards a run to the playoffs. So
Hmm.
definitely something to keep in mind. I do want to address. I mean, since it's been coming up, I've been seeing it in the chat a little bit. I do want to talk about Jameis Winston,
Sure.
and I know a lot of people have been like super critical of him, and people have given up, pretty much jumped ship, and just hey, this guy is not the answer. I will say this: there were some plays where Jameis was a little slow getting the ball out, and those are things that he really needs to clean up as the season progresses if they're going to win games. Now there were some plays that with the OJ Howard interception was one that really just kind of frustrated me because that's your tight end. You've got you when you're that open, you have to catch that ball. You have to. There's
Right.
no other way around it. You got to catch that ball. So to him, and there's enough blame to go around for everybody. I mean, there were times where he didn't have time in the pocket and he was getting the ball out, and that was part of the problem. But a lot of it is Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston just what he was doing. But then there were other times where players and I looked at that play that Bruce Arians was talking about. What were your thoughts on that? Because he was saying that the running back went too deep
Right.
on that interception, that pick six.
Hmm.
Did you see that when you were looking at it?
It looked that way. It looked like he maybe went too far, but I go back to the pre-snap look. I think
Mm-hmm.
Jameis has to do a better job of understanding, who's on who and what the matchup is, and make some type of adjustment there. It looks like Mike Evans, missed his hot route. Maybe he was supposed to do something short and it just got missed because they were sending a blitz after Jameis.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like Peyton must have been the short option
Right.
on the outside. So I'm assuming he went too far. But again, that's not really a guy that has been utilized in that type of way as far as a passing receiver. And you have him lined up against Richard Sherman.
Yeah.
That's just a matchup you don't really want to exploit.
And when you say the word
So,
matchup, I'm gonna cut you off here just for a second. You talk about matchups. If Sherman is on this running back, is
right.
there a mismatch in just in your mind? Is there a mismatch somewhere on the field?
Yeah, there
If
there there has to be another, option to go to. Obviously, I think Mike would have been the better option if he runs a better route as far as, what he was doing. I think they had him going up the field and maybe dragging across, but you really can't look at that view. It has to be something quick over the middle or dragging across. So yeah, it's just Jameis, I think, has to do a better job. And I don't know, how far along he is into this offense. I'm sure he knows most of it, but it just has to be a better pre-snap read there as far as identifying and making sure you have someone to get the ball out quickly, because you have oncoming rushers from that right side. So there just has to be something different there as far as what to do. And And if it's not good, if it's not a good look, then you need to just take a timeout and move on and go try another play. So
Yeah. And somebody, Tampa Supreme 813, great point here. Winston bounces always. He does bounce back from bad games.
right,
We've seen that time after time. And the one thing that I will say about Jameis Winston, I love Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston to me is a blessing and a curse, same
yes,
time. So that's that. I've pretty much got that in my head. There are times where I get so frustrated and I want to kick something, but then he comes back the next game and he has a rock solid game, or he just overachieves on the next game. So
right,
again, there's a lot of football to be played. First game, 15 more games to go. And so, I understand that people are frustrated. Like Lane Johnson was talking about here. I hate to say it, but Dirk Cotter's offense looked a lot more smooth and fluid than BA's offense. And what you have to keep in mind, this is the first time we as fans have seen this Bruce Arians offense. Whereas with Dirk Cutter, we've seen that for what, 3 years? 3 years now?
yeah. Ask Atlanta Falcons fans how they feel about Dirk Cutter's offense right now.
Yeah, that's the
you know,
that's the $1 million question right
I
there.
mean, they only scored 12 points against Minnesota. Again, that's a tougher defense, but still, yeah. I'm just gonna take it. Look at it this way. I think they're gonna have growing pains, and obviously we had that Sunday. You look at what Carson Palmer did his first game in this offense when Bruce Arians coached him back in 2013.
Oh
It was the
God.
exact same stats. I mean, he threw 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions in his first game. So it's going to take some time. Fans don't want to hear that, but hopefully they can make adjustments within what they saw, make it more simplified, and use a little bit more route. Be a little more diverse with the route combinations and give some easier options for Jameis to get the ball out quickly. I thought they tried at times to do that, but San Francisco just did a good job of taking things away. But I like to see them get back to where they have a short, an intermediate, and a deep threat, and really attack all 3 levels. And if you have to limit the reads to one side of the field, I think you have to do that for Jameis and just make it easier for him so he can do a quick pre-snap read, get the ball out, 1, 2, 3, and go, and just go from there. If you get 6 yards a time, then you take your 6 yards and keep going. Don't have to force the ball, at 20 yards a chunk every time. So,
Yeah, because you get 2 6-yard plays. That's a first down. That's
exa-
that's 2nd and 8. You're looking at on your next series after that. So
right.
so
Yeah.
yeah, you're absolutely right. That's kind of how you really need to look at that.
Yeah, and I would like to see them be a little more aggressive with the run game as well and get those attempts up. I would like to see them tomorrow, be over 30 to 35 attempts rushing the football and really limit as far as what Jameis is being asked to do. I know it sounds like you're playing him like a rookie, but for the most part, he is a rookie in this system, and he's a rookie with this coaching staff. And you look at the past couple years, he didn't really have the coaching that he has now. It's just not the attention to detail that they're enforcing. They're really working with his mechanics and making sure he's, the footwork and everything. And that's coming along. It's still a little inconsistent, but, I mean, he still made a lot of good throws on Sunday that I saw from game tape. It's just about getting everybody involved to help him out and be on the same page. Because at times, there was just nobody open, and that's why you saw Jameis just holding the ball there. So we got to do a better job of route running and getting guys, creating that separation so Jameis can make good throws, to make big plays.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's not about that deep ball. I'm sick of hearing about the deep ball. I don't care about the deep ball. I want them to keep this offense on the field as long as you can and get 7. If you have to get 3, that's cool, but at least get 7. That should be your intent. Not get one huge chunk play down the field, but wear down the defense. Keep the defense on the field as long as you can. Wear them down into the fourth quarter where you can run the ball down their throat. And I do believe, and despite what people may say, I do believe that we have in Tampa has some great running backs here. Not like world beaters, but those guys can all work together and do well.
Yeah,
You saw the pile moving forward. I think that's something they need to, like you said. I felt like I thought they would do more runs. I thought you would see more runs than you did. So I don't know. Do
right.
they have Rojo on a snap count or something like that?
No,
Or
no. I mean, I would like to see them use all three in the running game and really, you know, pound it and wear out these defenses and really, if they can, use
because
all of them.
Dare is a weapon that he should have been on the field at some point. A lot more than what you
Yeah,
saw running the ball.
yeah. I mean, Dari probably was in the doghouse a little bit after the first series. He did
Yeah.
give up the punt block, so he's got to be better there. Um, personally, yeah, I would just use all three of them in some type of fashion and really, uh, pound it against Carolina. I would expect them to go after Gerald McCoy tomorrow in the run game. Really try to attack
Mm-hmm.
him and take advantage of what you can get as far as McCoy. He leaves gaps open. I mean, just the way he attacks. There's going to be gaps there that you can fill and take advantage of. So hopefully we see that. But yeah, those are things I would like to see is just utilizing the running backs, and I like to see Cam Brate be utilized more as well. I like to see him be
Yeah.
more involved in the passing game. And OJ Howard, honestly, he had a bad game on Sunday. He just didn't play well at all. I would like to see him pick up his game. He needs to be better for sure tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to need all hands on deck.
Hmm.
Now, I kind of want to jump back to the Carolina Panthers and the one guy that you really have to key on. When we talk about keying on somebody, it has to be
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey.
Oh,
I
for
mean,
sure.
he has to be the focal point. I mean, if you got to put a cornerback and three safeties on this guy, he has to be. You have to make these other guys beat you and take him out of the game. And I know that's tall order, but I'm just
Mhm.
saying. But that's got to be your focal point. Is Christian McCaffrey? Just what he's capable of doing in open space is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, Carolina, and this is maybe a good thing. I mean, Carolina has a very similar offense to San Francisco. They run a lot of pre-snap motion, a lot of misdirection, stuff like that. So you have to be aware of where DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel are as far as the receivers.
Right.
They utilize Greg Olson more as a lead blocking type of guy as far as, getting out in the run game. They'll motion him sometimes, into the backfield and have some different types of sets where they'll, play action and they'll have Greg Olson roll out to the flats. So there's a lot of things you got to keep your eyes on, and you got to be disciplined in your gaps. And hopefully the Bucs can do that. They did a pretty good job of it against San Francisco. So hopefully they can do the same against, the Panthers tomorrow. I think the Panthers are a little bit more built as far as their offensive line to run the football. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's going to be a test, as far as our down linemen and hopefully Vita Vea and Sue. I think Vita might be a little bit more better for this game, just having his legs underneath him.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I mean, you don't have to worry as much as the heat, heat factor
Because it will
tomorrow
be a night
night.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, so that might be a benefit for the defense, and you might even be able to see them play faster, which is kind of scary because they were pretty fast on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean they were gassed. I mean, when you looked at that defense on
Mm.
Sunday in the fourth, when you look on the fourth quarter, the
Right.
defense was gassed. I mean, if people have never been to Tampa, Florida in August and September, it is ridiculous. It
Yeah.
is probably the worst feeling I've ever felt in my when I cursed that I lived there was normally in August, September, because the heat is just ridiculous and
Oh yeah.
the humidity just takes all the fight out of you. If you're
Hmm.
out in it just for any period of time, it will take all the fight out of you. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you this from personal experience. Playing softball, playing baseball, just anytime there was practice or whatever, just being out there was just a nightmare when you had to practice in that heat.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was at the game and I was pretty much like dying after once I got home. I like pretty much just like yeah. And I'm still probably hurting. Like I'm hurting from the game still. Like my body's sore. I don't know why it's sore, but it's just sore because the sun just beats you up so much. So hopefully the players don't feel what I'm feeling, and
Yeah.
they've been taking care of themselves and getting that like cryo, the what is it, the cryo chamber or whatever.
Oh,
Uh,
cryo chamber.
yeah, getting that, and hopefully their bodies are feeling much better than mine.
Don't burn your don't frostbite your feet though.
Right, right, right. But
No, but Cyril, in all honesty, that heat is brutal
yeah,
in Tampa. It is another opponent for people that are not used to it. When you come in to play in that heat,
mhm,
I can remember a game. What was it? Right after Hurricane Irma, I believe. I was there, and I had to buy a bottle of water just to keep the rag wet, to keep on
mhm,
my head, to just kind of cool me off. It was
right.
just that. It was just that kind of weather, and you can't drink a beer without feeling miserable. So
Oh
again,
yeah.
it's just one of those things, man. That's Tampa. That's that other player out there when when opponents come to Tampa to face them.
Mhm,
They're gonna be in kind of similar weather with Carolina with the heat, but
mhm.
again, because they're playing at night, this will be a little bit more even, I believe, and I don't expect to see cramps or as
Right.
bad as what you would see in Tampa.
Yeah, and hopefully Mike Evans is better as well. I mean, he was struggling Sunday, I think, just because of the sickness that he had. He just didn't look himself. Really not running, um, the crispest routes out there as far as like full speed. It looked like sometimes he was on it, sometimes he wasn't. So hopefully he puts together a good game. And I think they have to do a better job of isolating him and getting him, create separation and open. And same thing with Chris Godwin.
Yeah,
Like to see him utilized more. But yeah, all those guys, Cam Brate, I like to see that connection get more play because Jameis just seems to have that, just unbelievable connection with Brate as he can just find him and it could be they're saving him for the red zone, and it looks like
yeah,
they had that called perfectly, but Dotson just
yeah,
the first holding call wasn't a holding call, and then the second one I can understand because he bear hugged the guy, but
yeah,
I don't know. Sometimes you just gotta let these guys play. I mean, it was
yeah.
very questionable calls, but that's the refs. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. There you go.
yeah,
You're exactly right on that.
yeah,
And there's a lot of talk in the chat about Ndamukong Suh. I have been very happy with Ndamukong Suh, just watching him in preseason, watching
mhm,
him in this game, and just his motor getting after it.
yeah,
And again, I'm not comparing him with McCoy in any way. I'm just saying I like what I've seen out of him. I mean, you're seeing his jersey on almost every running play where he's
right.
in there or around there. So I mean, to me, I'm excited to have this guy.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. This the combination of Vita Vea and Sue. I think when we saw it on Sunday, I mean, they're both drawing double teams, so that's going to create opportunities for your outside guys, and
Yeah,
hopefully they can just continue to take advantage of that. And there's going to be opportunities against the Carolina Panthers. Their offensive line, their tackles, and some of their some of the ways they just run plays. They are set up to be vulnerable in the pass protection game.
they are
So
limited in pass protection.
yeah, so hopefully they can take advantage of that and really put some pressure on Cam Newton. I thought the Rams did a good job of really utilizing some stunts and stuff like that, and we have some similar guys, with speed that can do those things, and hopefully they can play into that and get more pressure on Cam Newton because you want to keep him in the pocket. I know you said he didn't really run that much, which I didn't see either. So hopefully, you can keep him inside that pocket and make him win from there because, at times you see Cam, like he can be really accurate, but then at other times he can be wildly inaccurate and just miss guys.
Yeah,
So hopefully, he's throwing passes into the Buccaneers defenders and we
yeah.
make plays like that.
Yeah, the one thing that I will say that has been a consistent behavior from Cam Newton is trying to throw the ball on the run, and he just his accuracy level goes down when he's moving with the ball to try to move it downfield.
Right.
There have been some amazing throws, but then you have to consider he's had like super tall, big bodied wide receivers, which he doesn't have at his disposal this year. So
Right.
this is a different look for him, and he's got to look a different way of getting these guys the ball. So again, it's a work in progress in Carolina as well. I know they're running a 3-4 defense as well this year, so
Yeah.
that should be really interesting to see how they stack up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. So definitely something to look for as well.
Yeah, looking at their defense, I mean, they present a lot more different exotic looks. I saw some, different things they did against the Rams, which were good. I thought for the first half their defense looked pretty solid against what the Rams were, trying to do. It seemed like they were, doing a good job as far as their secondary and really confusing Jared Goff. That's probably I think that might be their strength is their secondary. It's a
Hmm.
really good secondary that really knows how to disguise certain looks. So Jameis is going to have to be sharp. He's going to have to be on his toes and making sure he's making the right reads. Then you look at their linebacking core and Luke Kuechly, who's just a stud. So you really
Yeah.
have to target that guy. But yeah, they do a lot of different things. The 3-4, but I do think they are vulnerable to the run game. I think there's
Hmm.
opportunities to attack them that way, and really, I think with the quick passing game as well. I think that's something you can look at.
Have
There's going to
we
be
have we heard any updates on Greg Olson? How is it? I know he had a lower back injury, and I know that they
right.
had kept him out of practice on Tuesday. So I was just
Yeah,
kind of curious.
he was full participation today. I would assume he'd probably play tomorrow. He's a guy that doesn't really need to practice, especially on short weeks. He already knows the offense, so
Right.
yeah, you probably see him in there tomorrow.
Yeah, most
Just
definitely.
give him the extra rest because he is a veteran and really doesn't need that time to
Yeah.
be out there. So,
Yeah, and his body has really taken a beating over the years. So
oh
yeah,
yeah,
most definitely.
yeah, but going back to the defense of Carolina, I would expect the Bucks to come out running heavy and maybe you get them on a couple of those play action passes. Maybe you can get behind their linebackers. I think that's the
Hmm.
area to attack. Right behind their linebackers in front of the safeties. I think you'll have some opportunities there. So the tight ends could be huge in this game. I think that's where you have to look as far as your passing attack and then just continue to mix in that run game and hopefully you can get some explosive runs from Ronald Jones and Peyton Barber, etc.
Yeah. And it has just been quiet. All the detractors about Ronald Jones and what a
Yeah,
horrible pick that was. And I'm happy to see him have this bounce back second rookie season. I call it a second rookie season because
yeah,
they sure didn't really utilize him a lot last year. But to see him come in, he's honed his craft. He's gotten better. His footwork is amazing. And
right,
just looking at how he runs the ball, he's bulked up. He looks like a running back.
yeah.
And you saw him looking for contact. He wasn't running from it. When he had to make contact, he did. And just keeping that pile moving forward, that's important.
Yeah, he just looked very confident. I thought that was just, evident,
He looked
on the
like he was at
field.
USC again.
Yeah, and he was just playing very natural, and really did a good job of protecting the football. I mean, that's what I was probably most impressive. He was
Yes.
running in between the tackles, really had the ball protected, and he was pushing guys back and good contact balance. I would still like to see him. I think for the most part he did a good job, but I like to see him keep his head up just a tad more when he's running downhill. Uh, but he almost had that one touchdown run where he broke it to the outside. I thought he was going to get the corner. You would have liked to seen Mike, seal his guy a little bit better there so he
Yeah.
could run around him. But yeah, I mean, just good vision, good running. And he caught that ball, made plays. So just hope it continues. I think he's going to be a weapon to be utilized, and hopefully him and Peyton Barber can become that 1-2 duo.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love for them to sprinkle a little bit of Daria Gumbawale in there too, because
Yeah, for
he,
sure.
he's definitely a difference maker. You game plan for one running back or the other, but when you've got three running backs that you can consistently, rotate in, I mean, it really wears down a defense that has to continuously be on the field. Which,
Right.
again goes back to my point about, you don't need that big bomb every time. You can methodically work your way down the field and you can put yourself in a position to score.
Right. Exactly.
Willie Horace was saying, my question to everyone is quick to jump on Jameis, but all the 2016 class have been in a stable system and offensive line. If the Bucks did trade him or let him go, where would he go? that's I don't know. I don't see them trading him. It's just a matter, will they re-sign him or let him test the market or whatever and go
Mm,
after another one. So I don't know. I think you kind of have to wait until you get closer to the end of the season to see who's injured, number one, who's underachieved, number two, and what salary cap room different teams have, and how they work that. Because I do know that he would end up on another team, and the one thing that we haven't talked about it yet, but whether you love him or hate him, Jameis Winston's your all-time leading quarterback in yards. So I mean,
right.
whether you like him or not, you're going to have to mention his name. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you look at the history of the Bucs as far as quarterbacks. To that point, I say Vinny Testaverde had that record back in the 80s. He set
Mhm.
that record back in the 80s, which tells me everything I need to know about Jameis Winston and what he's come in and done.
Right. Yeah. I think it's just too early. Again, it's only one game. I know a lot of people are just basing this off of what we've seen the first 4 years out of him, but he just he's finally starting to get the support that he's been wanting to have, and you know, I think you got to wait and see how he bounces back. I think you got to give it at least 8 games, to see how he does that first half of the season, and really, let's see what happens. Like if he can manage to, get this team above 500 in the first 8 games, and then
Right.
come on strong in the second half. You just want to see that progression, and hopefully he can take that step forward into making it more positive, and hopefully we don't have another setback tomorrow where it's even worse than what he showed, Sunday. You just want to see that constant, progression and him getting better. I think he's done that pretty much all of his career. Usually he gets better as the season goes on. He'll usually go on runs where, he'll have like 13 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, stuff like that,
Yeah.
where it's been good. So,
Yeah. And
let's
guy
see how
and
he
guys
bounces back.
and guys, think about this too. This time last year, the Bucks were 1-0, and they were breaking records. I mean, everybody was talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on NFL Network, ESPN, because of how they were doing, how they
Right.
were playing, and we saw how the season ended up. So it's just too early. Whether you're overreacting or whatever, it's just too early to say, okay, this season's a wrap or whatever. You have to really, kind of take a step back. I mean, if we're still seeing this kind of productivity from Jameis Winston, game 6, game 7, then there's grounds to be kind of worried about, what's going on with the season.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, let's just see how they continue to make adjustments, and how they cater more to Jameis as the season goes along. And you know, I think they'll understand, like, okay, we figured out, okay, this doesn't work, and we're gonna utilize this playbook here for this week, game plan. And there you go. That looks good.
Cigar City, baby, Tampa,
Yeah,
Florida, gotta love it. Go
yeah,
ahead.
that's the good stuff. But um, what was I saying? Yeah, so they just have to do a better job of understanding Jameis's strengths, and I think the coaching staff is starting to, figure that out. And you're like, oh well, they should know this by now. They should know this and that, and have this ready. And but you got to go into games and really see how teams are attacking your offense, and they're going to make adjustments. I'm pretty sure we'll see something different tomorrow night's game. I expect a team to come out with a lot of passion and fight. But same time, you're going to see Carolina do the same thing. They're in the same boat. So both teams 0-1. It's going to be a good matchup, and hopefully, the Bucs take advantage of those plays that are there to be made, unlike they did last week.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I still have a lot of faith in this team.
Right.
I really want to give the head coach and his outfit a chance to really show what they can do. Again, it's all about familiarity. It's all about repetition. It's getting comfortable with what you do week in, week out. And again, I really believe that I'm still optimistic about this team turning this all around, and that's kind of where I'm at. But
Mhm.
maybe maybe I am that homer this is my team. I'm going to root for them no matter what. Yeah, I kind of am, and you kind of have to look at the good with the bad, and kind of put that all together. But At least, guys, give it to game 6 at least. At least
Right.
give it to game 6. And then you make your decision, because the first game is an overreaction. The second game may be an overreaction where you really don't know what this team is going to look like. But I can promise you, by game 5, game 6, you know what this team is, or you
Right.
have a great idea what it is. Would you agree with that statement?
No, I completely agree. I think, you gotta let things play out and see how, because like I said, each week is week to week. I mean, it's a week to week league. Teams make adjustments. So there's going to be differences. I mean, Carolina's going to make adjustments. You're not going to see what Carolina did last week. You're not going to see what the Bucs did last week. There's going to be new things that are going to be in this week's game plan because it's a different opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see how they make adjustments based off what they did and how they correct, some of those things, but also what do they add differently to get off to a better start and get into the game much quicker and get that leadway going into the second half.
All right. Hey, shout out to special guest out here in the chat, Anthony Sellers from Browns in Our Blood, the Browns podcast. Thank you for checking us out. I really appreciate that. And just kind of getting back to the game again, the overreaction that we've seen. You kind of have to take a deep breath and kind of at times maybe walk away from social media. I definitely would. I definitely did not get on Facebook after that game. I was not even going anywhere near it. And you know what? When you watch a game as a fan, you're emotional. You're like hyper. Whether you win or you lose, you're super hyper. And if your team lost the way the Bucs lost, you were pissed. I don't care. And that's the one thing I had to keep telling myself, dude, wait for the game film to come out. Look at the game film. Don't overreact. Don't get drawn into this. Just wait and look at the game film, and it'll give you an idea of what's going on. And I'm glad I did. And I'm really, especially that game, where that you're going to see overreactions just based on what people have experienced over the past few seasons. So again, it's one of those things that I think that this team is going to bounce back. I really believe that. This is going to tell you what kind of team the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are if they bounce back and make this competitive and win this game.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And going back to social media, I didn't even look at it till probably like Tuesday. I stayed off of it, quite a bit, just especially Sunday night because, man, there was just a lot of things just being thrown out there. Notifications were like ramping up and I was just not going to even bother with it. And you saw, fans burning Jameis Winston jerseys and stuff like this.
They could have gave them to me.
Right. I'm like, that's just wasting money.
I'm good. I'm good with a new jersey. Come on. Hey, if you're going to burn some, like they were burning the Mike Evans jerseys that one year. And
right.
I could use a Mike Evans jersey. I would love to have that. But, that's for another time. Dude, people never cease to amaze me. I mean, it's just one game. Antoine Cates had a really interesting question, and I'm going to address it. Then I'll put it to you, Mike. He said, "Do we address the running back position? I'm sorry, I don't trust Barber." I think the way the play calling went, Barber did what Barber does, and I just don't think they went to him a lot in this game. But Antoine, I promise you, you'll see more of Peyton Barber this year, and you'll come to appreciate him as the season progresses. I think he's deceptively shifty. He's able to make moves, and he doesn't dance. He hits the hole and he goes. You don't see a lot of the shaking and baking. He's a true north-south runner.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I think in regards to last week's game, it was just Ronald Jones. He was the hot hand, and that's something that Bruce Arians is going to play into. I think in this game tomorrow, I think you'll see more of a combination of both guys getting carries because, like I said, I'm really hoping you see more than 30 rushing attempts in tomorrow's game. So, that's what I think they have to do, to really control the clock and be successful. But you got to take advantage of your red zone opportunities in order to do that. But yeah, I think you'll see Peyton Barber plenty. I think he's still a really good running back and really gets you those tough yards that you need. And then you can just sprinkle in Ronald Jones and have that change of pace where he can just burst one
Yeah.
open, and take it to the house.
Yeah, and I believe they'll both be instrumental in wearing down a defense. Just when
Right.
you're running one or the other and you're rotating these guys in, I think they'll definitely be beneficial.
Yes, for sure.
All right. So, man, this is great. The chat is lively. You know what I love about the listeners here is
Mhm.
you have a lot of guys that have high football IQs. They're out here. They're not making all these hot takes as they call them.
Yeah.
And I love this. People are asking questions. Okay, how about this? You got some guys in here throwing shade at Gerald McCoy, which I don't have a problem with that. And
Hey, he's division rival.
he's a
So
division rival now. You may hurt his feelings. Now it's okay to hurt his feelings. Where if you were on social media and you hurt his feelings while he was a Buck, he would block you. But now
right.
you have free reign to say whatever. So there's that. But again, it's just this game right here is one that I'm really super excited about. Like I said, just because I want to see how Tampa bounces back and how they face a defense, another defense that has a good front line. Just the way that they run things, and again, you've got a competent coach that knows how to go out and call plays, and I think that you'll see more adjustments. We saw some adjustments, which I don't know if that's what you saw, but I saw adjustments from the first half to the second half, unlike what you have seen in previous years. So definitely something to look forward to.
Yeah, I saw some. I saw some of the same things as well in the second half. Offensively, I would like to see them. Once Ronald Jones was just like taking over the game, it seemed like I like to see them mix in some play action with him involved. Like as far as him being on the field, I would just like to see some play action there to really see what you have. I think they did it a couple times, but again, I don't think it really panned out to anything. So
Yeah.
I would just like to see a better execution of their play action game once they have that run game established, and really use it more, even if it's not running the football. Like if you're not running it well, still put that play action in there just to freeze the linebackers a little bit and open something up for your receiving targets.
Yeah. Interesting question. Question: do we see the rookie Tanner Hudson at any time this season? And I'm going to say yes. You,
Yeah,
you you can quote me. You can quote me as saying yes. And I believe that just like he's done in the preseason, he will make the most of his opportunities when he gets on the field.
Yeah, I think you'll see him as well. Again, Bruce Arians and his staff is a team that really, they play each week differently. Like I said before, it's attacking that week's opponent's strengths and weaknesses, and sometimes you need different personnel, whether that be Tanner Hudson or one of the other guys that were inactive. Maybe it's a Scotty Miller that gets the call up this week. So really, it's about catering to what your opponent is and really taking advantage of what they give you.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's something that I'm really hoping to see. I do believe we haven't even seen like maybe 5% of their freaking playbook.
Right.
And I know a lot of people were like, well, what about the play calling? I know, and tell me if I'm wrong with this here. During the beginning of a game, don't most teams script like 25, 30 plays prior when a game
Yeah.
starts? And
Yeah.
then it's kind of after that it's a little bit different, but for the most part that's what you're looking at is a lot of that is already scripted, so
Right.
they know what they're going to go out and run. They just have to execute. And
Mm.
again, I cannot stress this enough. Stop with the stupid penalties, back-breaking penalties, momentum-killing penalties. And that's what the Bucs. I don't mind getting a 10-yard penalty if they can turn around and still get a first down, still keep the ball on the opponent's side of the field, or get them, just keep it moving. But just when you're getting those penalties at the wrong time, you're taking points off the board. It's frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. And usually it's the 15 first plays, like first 15 plays they
First
have
15,
scripted.
that's what it was.
Yeah, they usually have scripted, and Jameis is more involved with that with this coaching staff. I mean, usually it's pretty much his game plan, so he's picking the plays, and whatever he likes to do best, that's usually what they put in there. So Yeah, I would like to see that, be executed better. You have to get off to a good start. I think, this last week we had a 3-and-out. So you see that, that first drive get moving and at least get some momentum there. And that's really what the 15 plays are for. It's really, okay, this is what we want to establish. And then from there on, that's how you make your play calls based on what you did there, whether it be changing it up or you play off of that. So it's just one of those things where you can really dictate the game if it's done properly.
Yeah, absolutely. Ken F from Bahamas. How you doing, Ken? He was saying McCoy signed with the Panthers to stay in the division. He's beefing. Other teams offered him more money. I'm going to kind of dispute that. When you look at the Baltimore Ravens, Gerald McCoy would have been the focal point on that team. He would have had to have been some semblance of a leader on that team. The Cleveland Browns, very young defensive line. Gerald McCoy would have had to have been some semblance of leadership on that team. Now, when you look at the Carolina Panthers and who they have on that defensive line, the expectations for Gerald McCoy go way down. He can go out and play like he plays. So I understand what you're saying, but I really believe that it was more about a fit for him, more so than the Bucs gave away my jersey. I mean, when you look at the grand scheme of things, yeah, I'm sure they offered him more money, but as far as being comfortable, being a good fit, getting good numbers so he could go out and get another contract at the end of the season, I think is the end game here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it was just best fit for him and his family.
Yeah, and being that Carolina is definitely closer to Tampa, that was definitely a big thing for him. So,
Right.
all right. So, hey, P Cody, what's going on? Hey, so again, what are your keys? What are your keys to victory here? Before we, I can't
Hmm.
believe we're almost at an hour, but
Yeah.
what are your keys to victory for this Buccaneers team?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be real simple for me. On offense, they got to run the football and then just protect it as well. No turnovers. If we can have no turnovers, run the football and limit the penalties. The bad mistakes at the wrong time, like you mentioned. Just keep those to a minimum or to zero if possible. So those are my keys on offense going up against this defense. And then defensively, it's pretty much, you got to contain Christian McCaffrey. You're not going to stop him completely, but you got to keep him from getting those big, yards after contact or after a catch. So they're going to have to do a good job of tackling. That's going to be my number one key for them. And then, just getting pressure on Cam Newton, try to keep him in the pocket, make him throw passes that he's just not comfortable doing. If they can do those things, I think we'll be okay. So really, just keep it simple on both sides. Run the football and protect it, and then you got to take advantage of your opportunities inside the red zone.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, execution, both sides of the ball. Uh,
Right.
we need to see the offense and the defense both show up, special teams is included. I would have to say
Right.
the team as a whole. 4 quarters of football is going to get you the win, and I'm going to say that I'll die on that hill saying that 4 quarters of football by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will get you the win, and I'll say that with this schedule every time, it just will. And just the way this team is built, I believe what did Ndamukong Suh say? Mentality plays a big part in it.
Yes.
They've got to bounce back. I mean, they've got to put this game behind them and say, hey, this is our new opponent. Let's go out and win this game. This is what needs to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's going to be the big storyline tomorrow. How do they respond? How do they come out in the first 5 minutes? How's their energy level? Are they looking, showing that urgency is what, you want to see and really, attack in a smart way where you can
Mm.
really, jump on the Carolina Panthers early and maybe build, some type of lead or gain momentum and really just have it carry on throughout the game. That's what you're hoping to see tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm 100% right there with you, man. And running the ball is going to be important. Being able to control the clock. If the Bucks get up, being able to commit to the run, and just run out the clock, control the clock in the fourth quarter, third quarter. I mean, that's going to be important too if the Bucs can get to that point. But again, cut out the back-breaking penalties. Have got to stop. I mean, you know what? That's what's killing this team. And, like you mentioned, the turnovers. The turnovers have been something that, throughout the years have always been kind of a problem for the Bucs. But I believe that, with this team, they can do well. I realize that you lose Deshaun Jackson and you lose Adam Humphries. I'm really happy with Chris Godwin. I think that there may have been a little fall off with Deshaun Jackson going, but with Chris Godwin, he's on his way up, and his ceiling is still to be determined. So I really want to see him get in there and get more involved in this offense as well.
Yeah, definitely. I would like to see them utilize all those guys a little bit better as far as the route combinations, and we'll see what they do tomorrow as far as attacking that defense, and hopefully it's a good game plan, and hopefully, like you said, execution, that's going to be huge. But yeah, they got to stay away from the flags and just play a smart football game. If they can do that, I think their defense will be good enough to keep them in the game, which is nice to say. You just got to make sure you don't. You got to make sure you don't lose the game in the first quarter. I think that's going to be huge for tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, that's pretty much it for us. We're back on schedule. As you can see, we are week to week, Wednesdays, and I think 9 p.m. works great. 9 p.m. Eastern works best. And we're going to kind of revert that from 10 p.m. to 9 p.m. I think it works best for everybody. And you'll definitely be able to catch this on YouTube as well. And I will get this out on iTunes as well. And I do apologize. I've been slipping. And I will get back to what we were doing. And I'm really excited. All the people that were able to contribute in the chat. This always makes the show fun when you've got people that are in the chat that know football and are able to contribute, and they're not just here to send off hot takes and stuff. So I think, Buck What You Heard is a safe zone for people that really love football and just love to talk football intelligently. I'll say that about that. That will be the moniker for this show. And you guys are greatly appreciated. I mean, just some of the comments that I've gotten. I've got a friend who's a Patriots fan that goes back and watches this later on, and he says the guys in the chat are amazing because they know football. They're not they're not homers that are just parroting what somebody else said, but they're out here. They actually know what they're talking about. So
I think that's the beautiful thing, with the fan base that we have here, and like it's not just Bucs fans, like you said. It's pretty much all 32 teams. That is pretty cool. Usually have one or two fans from other teams weekly, and we had Browns fan tonight. Which is awesome, and it's just nice to have that diverse group, and it has a lot of versatility to it as well. And like you said, I think just intelligent football discussion, I think, is really a good foundation to build off of, and that's what makes the show fun.
Yeah, I think I've only had to boot off since we've been doing this. I've only had to boot 3 Bucs fans off of here for just coming in with tinfoil hat talking points, and they had to go. But you guys are awesome, and I appreciate that. And as I do every week before we leave out of here, I do want to do the roll call just to say thank you to everybody that has been in the chat. Brandon Mann, as usual. TC Baby 1, Travis Johnson, Lane Johnston, who's always bringing it. Seminole Buccaneer, shout out to Bucs Report on Facebook. Be sure to check them out if you get a chance to. Ken F, thank you, Ken. You're always appreciated. Tampa Supreme 813, Buck Fan 727, Lightning Films. If you guys are hockey fans, be sure to check out Lightning Films. Great content. Thank you so much for, coming and checking us out. Let's see. Who am I missing here? Shooter in the Stash. Great content. I really hope they don't give up on Buccaneers animation. Hopefully they can get me on another animation like they did the last time. We can get Pless on this time. That would be great if we could do something like that. That would be amazing. I'm just throwing out ideas for you there, Shooty Shoots. Willie Horace. Great comments tonight. Buck the World 2.0. Let's see. Antoine Cates. Antoine had some really great questions tonight. Thank you, Antoine. Your questions are definitely appreciated. And again, special guest Anthony Sellers from Browns in Our Blood. They have a great podcast. I love checking them out. I love checking out other teams. I want to know what's going on in the NFL. I try to get out of the bubble, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers bubble, as I call it, and check out other teams because you never know. You may face them at some point or another. So always good to know what other teams are doing. So that definitely appreciated. XLU Garvey, what's going on? I follow XLU Garvey is on Twitter. We follow each other on Twitter. Great person to follow. Great comments. Corey Flash. Let's see. Am I missing anybody? I think I've gone. Oh, Matthew Kitchell, of course. Matthew Kitchell, F the Panthers. You know what? I had to go ahead and clear that as okay. You can post that here, so that's fine. Perry Mathis, thank you, Perry. I appreciate you. Better late than never. Glad you made it on. Let's see. P Cody. I mentioned P Cody. And yeah, definitely. Here's an interesting point. Bucks fan 727 says double McCaffrey. I don't see a problem with that. I mean, if you take him out of the game, you're forcing, or at least as you said, contain him because this guy is just, what he came out and done this season, just from trying to improve from last season is amazing. So, you're absolutely right. I'm really super excited again to see what they do. And if you guys have any ideas that you want to run by me as far as the show goes, content, who to have on or something like that, please, just hit me up. If you're following me on Twitter, you can reach me at Buck What You Heard. My man, Michael Pless, Real Bucks Talk, please, please, please. If you're not following Real Bucks Talk, please follow them. They have great content. I listen to them before NFL Network. I listen to them before ESPN or anybody else. These are the guys I'm listening to, and then I'll go to everybody else. Because what I found, and I'm continuously seeing this, is these different sports entities are using talking points that they heard somewhere about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers without digging in and finding out the truth for themselves. So that's why I can say I really appreciate somebody like a Michael Pless coming on here.
Thank you, Gene.
One last point here, which is really interesting. I don't think we talked about it, is Andrew Adams, Mr. 3 interceptions on Cam Newton, is back in the fold. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, you might see him in the game tomorrow. I think he'll have a good opportunity to play just because they are down. I think your safeties now are Mike Edwards, Darian Stewart, and Jordan Whitehead, and then Andrew Adams is probably going to be the fourth guy. So, yeah, I would assume he's going to play. Also, he provides a factor on special teams, which is good. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him in some packages where they kind of utilize him like last year, where he's that kind of money backer. And that's another thing I would like to see them rotate. A little more of Deion Buchanan in there as well. I didn't really see him much last week, and I think the same with Mike Edwards. So I think you'll see those guys more as the weeks go by, just because based on the opponent, like I said, they're going to tailor to whatever their opponent is doing and how that personnel fits best. But yeah, Andrew Adams, I could see definitely having a role tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Cam's going to be looking for him on the field. I'm pretty sure of it. So that's definitely something to look forward to.
For sure.
So, guys, again, it's football season. Enjoy football. Always talk intelligently about football and stay off of Facebook talking about football. But Mike, I want to get your final thoughts before we roll out of here, and I'll give you mine, and we will be out.
Yeah, don't have too much. Just have fun with tomorrow. Should be a great game. Again, it's Thursday Night Football, which I'm not a big fan of, but at the same time, it's Bucks on national television, and going up against a big time opponent in Carolina. It's a division game. I think they have a really good chance in this one. So hopefully we can see a bounce back and have a good win tomorrow and have a good celebration for tomorrow night going into the weekend. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Follow me at Real Bucks Talk. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast, Buck What You Heard. Again, we're just continue to pump out great content like this weekly as the season goes on, and hopefully this team can get on a run, and then we'll be really cooking as far as what we're providing here at this show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and again, if you're not interested in listening to what's on the radio, or you're not interested in seeing what's on TV, hit us up on YouTube or on Spotify, or you're on Spotify, correct?
No, my podcast is available on
iTunes. My bad.
Podbean, and Google Play.
Yeah. So again, please check him out. Definitely somebody you want to follow. If you're following on social media like Twitter, be sure to check out Real Bucks Talk. We enjoy talking football. Me, I'm a little bit more random than he is. He kind of sticks to football, and if I see something funny, I'm just going to tweet it. But we work good together, as you can see. So definitely be sure to check us out next week. Cali Buck, what's going on? I'm sorry we're getting ready to roll out of here, but I made sure to get you a shout out. Shout out to Cali Buck. And that's pretty much it for us. And guys, enjoy the game. This is a huge game for us. It's a division game, so it'll definitely help towards getting whether you see this team headed in the direction of the playoffs or not. So definitely something to check out. And again, just today, if you think about it, never forget the Atlanta Falcons blew a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl. So never forget that. But that's it for us, man. We're out, and I will talk to you later.